I've heard it said that the addict needs to hate their addiction, and that hit me real deep.
A lot of people believe that to recover, you need to hate the thing that you're addicted to. But that's often not how transformation works. If you're in the carnivore space, you love and know Kylie, and she talks a lot authentically about her carnivore journey and her struggle with food addiction and the highs and lows of it. And I absolutely love that. And as somebody I'm a 4-year carnivore and carnivore coach, I'm a 15-year health and fitness expert, and I am a certified food addiction professional. I'd love to give my insight into this feeling like you need to get to a place of really, really hating your food addiction in order to transform. And in the food addiction space, this is even more complicated. See, you can love something dearly, but still admit that it's hurting you. It can be a socially acceptable addiction, like food addiction. Sugar is socially acceptable, but it can still be hurting you. You can admit and look back on your past and say, food gave me comfort, it gave me pleasure, it helped me to cope, it helped relieve things in me. And then still get to the point where you say, but the cost is just too high. I think the goal isn't to get to a deep place of shame or a deep place of guilt, because we have a lot of that. Food addicts already have a lot of that. We are professional dieters. We have so much knowledge and we have so much insight into our body, but we have so much of a lack of control. The goal is not to pretend that the addiction didn't give you anything at one point. I think the deeper work is seeing the addiction clearly, seeing what it gives, seeing what it takes, seeing the short-term comfort, and seeing the long-term consequences. See, addiction will continue to survive if we only look at the benefit and of the reward rather than looking also at the cost and the consequence. And a lot of people are waiting to suddenly wake up someday and just hate the addiction so much that they're ready to change. And friends, we are really good at justifying. We're really good at talking ourselves down. We're really good at saying, I deserve this, even if it has a little bit of a consequence, or I need to take the edge off a little bit. And I'm not like taking that, like, it's not bad. It's just food and I'm just on vacation. It's totally fine. And then we come out the other side and we're like, what did I do? But to me, I think the turning point is not hate. It's not. The turning point is clarity. The turning point is actually recognizing that it served a purpose. When I was a young mom and I was struggling and I felt like so many expectations, I was in online forums and I was like, they're not breastfeeding the right way. They're not doing this the right way. They're not napping. I want to start my business. And there was so much that I was trying to control and so much that I thought that I needed to learn, and so much shame around just not feeling well equipped, that when things were not going my way, the best thing for me when I got overwhelmed and I felt kind of shitty in myself was to just take a bag of chips and just kind of eat it away. But that gave me comfort and relief, and it served a purpose. But I didn't know what I didn't know, and I didn't have the skills to cope, and I didn't have the insight into my life. I didn't have the expertise, I guess. I didn't have the feedback. I wasn't self-aware. I was younger. My emotional eating got me through things that I didn't know how to handle. And also, emotional eating is no longer aligned with the life that I want to live. See, recovery also requires a lot of grieving. See, recovery comes along with a lot of grieving. Grieving the identity that you live in, that you're just somebody that can't control yourself for long periods of time. Grieving the reward, grieving the comfort that you're giving yourself, and maybe even grieving the fantasy that one day you're going to be able to control the thing that's been controlling you. And a lot of people go on diets and find carnivore and do things like that and believe that once they have the knowledge, once they have the wisdom, once they know more about the human body, once they know more about themselves, that they can finally break free from these things. Because you're stronger, you're more disciplined, you're more knowledgeable, you're more committed. But addiction is not lack of willpower, and it is not lack of information. Most people dealing with addiction know exactly what they should do. They know the foods that trigger them, they know the consequences of those foods, and they most certainly know inside and out all of the promises that they've made to themselves. So the struggle isn't about knowing more or about hating it more. It's about knowing what to do next, and it's about being supported as you change those deeply ingrained patterns. When I was in my addiction, I didn't know. that I needed recovery. And frankly, I've been in health and fitness for a while. I was looking for the information piece. I wanted the tool belt of all the things to do because I was teaching things I couldn't quite do myself. And then in the process of becoming certified and really studying addiction, I realized, fine, I need to go through recovery and get support myself. Because recovery requires way more than just motivation. It requires guidance when emotions get really loud. It requires accountability when old patterns feel super well-worn and comfortable. And it requires community when shame tells you to go ahead and isolate. So my point is, you can know a lot about your addiction while still needing help and support through it. See, I think that we can have compassion for the version of ourselves that needed food to cope. We don't need to get angry at that person. We don't need to get so pissed off at the addiction in order to change. We can have compassion for that version of ourselves, but also recognize that we're not living in that anymore and that there's a new version ready to evolve. It's almost like you want to get so pissed off at your spouse or your partner and hate them so much so that it's easy to say goodbye, versus knowing that the relationship that you're in isn't good for you anymore and choosing to walk away from it, even when it's like sort of okay. You feel like you have it under wraps, right? Choosing to walk away from it because you want a better version for yourself. That's the best analogy that I could give for it. See, as a carnivore coach in the carnivore space, I often see that we find this way of eating because we are seeking deeper knowledge. We are trying to heal metabolic damage that might be caused by addiction. But what I often see is some people do great. People who weren't actually in addiction do really great and are able to maintain this without any issues. But I do see people like me who I actually discovered while I was carnivore that I was a food addict. And then I went on my journey towards recovery. Many carnivores have the food piece down. They have the abstinence down, at least for a period of time. But when they're not abstinent for a long period of time and they do slip up and they do regress and go back to the substance, I think it's really important to start discussing how to heal from this food addiction on the emotional side of things. Because once the brain is starting to heal from a really good high nutrient diet, you got that piece down, right? Then we have to talk about the recovery piece, the support, the emotional piece, because that's the piece that really helps this stick and helps us move to the next level of our life that we're ready for. So reach out to me. If this is all resonating with you, please reach out to me, comment below or DM me because I am building this group as we speak.